I think one of the biggest things that keeps me motivated as a teacher are my students. I teach elementary PE, and my kids are always excited and ready to go and energetic, and that just keeps me alive, and I enjoy them.
Ms. Domitz, what do you look for in a potential candidate to try and pick someone who remains an educator?
Tony, I look for someone that is motivated, someone who's energetic, someone who likes children, and someone who basically acts like they're excited about getting a job and willing to do extra things. Because I think there are people then that are motivated to not only be teachers, but to do all the extra things that teachers are required to do these days.
Okay, and is there anything you do to help your employees from becoming overstressed or losing interest in the job?
Teaching is a very stressful job now. It didn't used to be as stressful as it is, but I think that the first thing that we try to do is make sure teachers are well prepared. So if we're asking them to do things, we try to make sure that they have had the training to do the things that we're asking them to do. We try to keep the job fun. It gets a little difficult to do that sometimes. And we try to look for just building relationships within our staff so that they have each other to turn to when they get stressed. And, we have to laugh. We have to keep a sense of humor. That's pretty much most of the things that we do.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
You are welcome.
This is Mrs. Beyer, a first grade teacher at Gladden Elementary. Mrs. Beyer, do you have any advice for staying positive on the job, or do you do anything to help you stay in a positive mood?
Staying positive as a first grade teacher is extremely important, and one of the things that helps me at the very top of my list is coming into the classroom every day and seeing all of my students who, granted, there are definitely students who are challenging, but their energy and enthusiasm for learning in school always gets me in a better frame of mind and helps me to stay positive and motivates me to try to be the best teacher that I can be for them. Another excellent way to stay positive is having co-workers, colleagues who obviously you have teaching in common with them, but I am so blessed because I have such a great group of friends in my grade level teachers. So we keep each other positive that way. We meet together once a week and do common planning time once a week. So that's a wonderful way to stay positive too, because you can vent your frustrations a little bit that you might be feeling if you're overwhelmed, but yet you realize that you're not alone and that they're all on the same page with you, and you build each other up that way. Also at the very top of the list is organization. You have to be so extremely organized if you're going to stay positive, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed and burdened because of what you're trying to catch up on to get done. So if you're organized, if all your lesson plans are done ahead of time, you've got your things prepared, it definitely helps you to stay positive and in a better frame of mind.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Mrs. Vickers, a first grade teacher. Miss Vickers, you're always so positive and always smiling. What's your secret to staying so happy while teaching?
Well, thanks for the compliment, Tony. And the one thing I thought about when you asked me that question was I really love what I do, and I've always loved it. And when you work with children, and especially little children, when you look happy, like you like your job, they're more excited, you're more approachable to them, and I think that you owe it to them to be very motivated about what you're doing. Because truthfully, motivation to learn is a big part of your job, to help motivate the kids to learn. So if you can show you love it, you put on that happy face and you greet them, they're into you, they're into what you're talking about, what you're teaching, and that makes it all worthwhile. I absolutely love what I do.
Thank you. Mrs. Dennings is a second grade teacher here. Mrs. Dennings, being a second-year teacher, what advice can you give to future educators to help them prevent from becoming burnt out?
I think that the most important thing to realize coming into it is the hours that you're going to put in. I feel when I was going through school and interning, it was a little bit easier and I didn't quite know everything that they did outside of the school hours. So I think realizing that and really loving the profession and doing it because you love it is going to help. There are definitely some trying days and days that aren't as good, but the reward is definitely worth it. So I think that just loving what you do and sticking to it and knowing that what you do is worth it and will pay off in the end.
Okay, and what has helped you stay positive and bright in the past year?
I think that the support from family and coworkers and friends, knowing those long hours that you work and working alongside you is really encouraging and helps you to stay positive and focused. We have a good team here, and I know that makes a big difference. So I think your coworkers and your family are huge on that influence.
All right, thank you.
Yep,
This is
thank
Mrs. Wetmore, a first grade teacher. Mrs. Wetmore, how do you stay positive for 28 years and still come back to the same job year after year?
I think one of the things that is good about teaching is that every chance you kind of have a chance to start over again. So if maybe you've had a tough year, you always have another year you can look over and have a different group of kids. I think you have to love the kids, love your job. If you didn't enjoy the kids, this would be a really tough job to do. But every day the kids will do something different. It's not boring. It's not routine. They are delightful to be with most of the time. If you have time to sit and talk and get to know the kids, they really do make it worth your while to come in every day. And sometimes I think too that I'm like the most positive person for some of these kids, so that makes it more important for me to be positive, and I don't like this stuff.